Hello and welcome to the Monument Complex. In today's video I'm going to show you exactly how to lose your head on a popular day ticket venue. In this day ticket venue you have to book, so your peg is booked from the get-go, so maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe a week in advance or a year, but when you do turn up there may be pegs free and you can move into them. This has been booked for about 2 weeks. We knew that the wind would be hacking in here within the last 10 days, and for the last week the wind has been in our corner. The conditions are perfect, it's mild, even though it's mid-January. The fish are in the area, and yeah, fair enough, I didn't have the best of neighbours because of maybe the spomming that went on earlier. I've not put any bait out, I've just gone with PVA bags, but I can imagine that I'm doing the best that I can in this situation. That's all I can do. I've got fresh rigs out, I've got fresh bags out. I'm fishing IQD rigs, fairly long, with PVA bags. They're on the spot. I can't do anything now, and this is where my head's gone. All it took was 15 or 20 minutes to catch the first carp from the Monument Complex. This beautiful linear was caught on a fluorocarbon D-rig attached to a simple leg clip setup. All it took was a 2.5 ounce lead to chuck that PVA bag perfectly on my spot. The hook bait was very simple. All it was a small piece of red foam with some maggots tied to the top of it. And as soon as the rig hit the water, straight away liners was very apparent. At this point I didn't even have batteries in my alarms, so all I was watching was the bobbins. And all I needed to hear was that clutch absolutely roar off for me to lift into this beautiful fish. Not only the first of this session, but the first to christen my new 13-foot rods. This was shaping up to be an unforgettable session, but sadly, like on most day ticket venues, you have other people that can affect your fishing so very quickly, and that changed this session completely. Hopefully you can see that in this light. As you can see, it's fairly dark. I'm going to bring these two tips together, and I'm fairly confident that right out there, those lines are running fairly parallel, and there ain't too much difference in those spots. They are both clipped up to the same, and they both hit the clip really nicely with bags on. I did have to do them a couple of times just to get it on the money, but I'd rather be sitting on my hands knowing that the rigs are out there perfect than be pissing about later trying to think if I did this or if I did that. Hello and welcome to a very cold morning at the Monument. It is first light, it's about 7:30, and I waited just enough so I could see my opposing marker, and yeah, I've got those rods back out. I'll show you the rod tips. They are absolutely perfect, 2 rods on a spot. If I get a fish on one, I've got a good feeling that the other one will go as well. Yeah, just fishing fairly tight. I'm going to slacken off in a second, get my rods tips in the water. But again, it's all I can do in this sort of time. It is January. The fact that I have nipped a bite in such a quick time just means I was on the fish when I was, and fingers crossed that the fish have returned into an area. I have been having liners for the last 2 hours, very subtle liners, and the bird life seems to be coming back to this corner, which, whether it is a good sign or not, I don't know. Hopefully it is. Usually on sessions like these, I'm first to blame myself, where for some reason this session was different. I did everything perfect, everything was in line, I even had the location correct. But sadly, the fish were spooked and they moved on. On a water like this, Moving on to the fish would be ideal, but sadly that is not exactly an option that I could have to use. I fish this lake a lot, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. This is my stomping ground. This is where I've learnt most of my carp fishing knowledge. I don't like to think of myself as a carp angler, but when it comes to these sort of pressured fishing, I've got to say, it's not the easiest. But something recently have just clicked. Something in my head, something that I've just noticed recently that's happened, that it's not about the gear that I've got, it's not about the right rigs or the right bait, but if you're not on the fish, you're never going to catch them. And 9 times out of 10, on my sessions where I've not caught, I thought, did everything perfect, and I blame myself for trying something new or messing about with A, B or C, where realistically if I kept it simple and say if the fish moved on to me or I moved on to the fish, I'd have easily nicked a bite, and you never know, it may have been the big one. But it's always too late thinking about the woulda, shoulda, couldas. But in this moment, I'm just thinking about the future, all the other lakes, all the other rivers and canals which hold big fish regardless of what species. And one lesson that I'll always take with me is that it's about location. Everything else comes last. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name's been Alex Westwood. I'm also known as Westy. If you care to subscribe and like the video, there will be more in the future to come.